Hey there, and welcome to the Fumble Forward podcast, the show where we use life's guaranteed imperfect moments to grow into better people. I'm your host, Aquia, and I'm so thrilled to have you on this incredible journey. And this season, Happy Yourself, we're on a mission to uncover the secrets of happiness, deepen our connection with God, and nurture the kind of connections that light up our lives. So let's talk about the good, the bad, and the beautifully imperfect. It's getting real. This is the last episode of 2023 and season one, Happy Yourself. It has been a ride. Ooh, if you know, you know, because episode one was raw and anything but perfect. I just clicked record and said, your girl is doing this, and I did. And so I'm even getting nostalgic. I may go back and listen to Imperfect Beginnings episode one just because it was eventful. But with all that being said, I'm going to be sharing with you all my mistakes of 2023, large and small. Now, I ain't going to give you all my mistakes. I ain't airing out dirty laundry, okay? And there is some mistakes I can share with you all. And a lot I've learned from these mistakes. A lot. But before we hop into all of that, I want to say what I'm currently reading. Same thing, We Over Me and Jubilee. I really focused on Jubilee this past weekend and it got real juicy, y'all. The story style is writing in the past and in the present. So I like that back and forth and I'm really getting into it. So it is good. And speaking of things getting real good, the podcast merch is off the charts. Y'all, I had a God-given inspired moment of creativity and there's new designs up and they are really all focused about how you were made and what you were made for and this thing we call life. And so they're really inspired with new mugs and they're about you being thoughtfully made, wonderfully made, living my best life imperfectly. And there's new designs for the Fumble Buddy journal. Woo, girl was a stumbling. But Fumble Buddy journal and fun designs, y'all. So spiced it up for sure on the podcast merch for Fumble Forward. I'm really excited to share this with you because it's literally was like God given inspiration and creativity to make them. So with all that, this is I don't know the word, like eager, happy. I'm not sure. Those are probably overdone and oversaid. But I'm ready, I guess is the best word I could say, ready to share with you all some of these mistakes I've identified. Now, I'm not sharing all my mistakes because we'll be on this podcast episode for thousands of hours. However, I decided to pick 7 that I think range in terms of severity, small and large, that have been just real growth moments for me and the way that I'm choosing to look at them. So I'm going to start with a heavy hitter because why not? The first mistake is creating stories in my head off of something I observed that were not real. So let me even reframe that because as I'm saying that, I'm like, do y'all get it? So I created stories that were not real in my head off of something I saw. And that was a mistake. Mistake mainly because I would get mad, angry, annoyed, any negative type of emotion over the stories I was creating. And mind you, the person did not do these things. My imagination did these things. And so it created some real tension for me and relationships. And it wasn't the way to handle things. And I realized about myself, and probably maybe you do this too, is like, if I don't know the rest of the story, if I don't have the context, my imagination will fill in the context for me. And unfortunately, my imagination is really good at filling in the context in a negative way instead of a way that's helping me. And so that was a big mistake of this year, done multiple times. And I am still working on this. I definitely don't have, I feel like, an approach that I'm like, ooh, yeah, like I'm making strides. It's more of, I've done the first and hardest step, but just to be aware that I was even doing it. So that's mistake one there. Mistake two was relying on the Bible app too much over the actual Bible, hard copy, flipping the pages and all the things. And I really realized this in September when I went on a 1 week cruise and I didn't have Wi-Fi access and stuff like that. And it didn't even occur to me to actually pack a Bible, hard copy, and continue the journey that I was doing so well on in terms of being in the Word every single day. So I felt so off and weird not being in the Word every day because I relied on technology. And so for that, your girl learned I cannot rely so heavily on technology like that, especially when there's hard copy ways to keep my momentum and work going. And so that is something I learned this year to not do, just to not rely on that. As much as the Bible app is crazy helpful for me, I can't rely on that solely. And I definitely did that. So mistake three, taking too many statements or situations too seriously. And this is really when it comes to people picking on me or maybe highlighting a feature of myself that I don't particularly like so much. And they were starting to get to me, these statements, conversations with people. And my mom reminded me to use humor, crack a joke about it. She said that using humor, cracking jokes, that can help with these situations. It can help relieve the stress that both of you all may be feeling. And I will admit, kudos to my mama, it has worked for me. It has definitely worked for me. It is a muscle that is definitely weak as well. So much practice to come on this, and a hard one for me. I definitely think my default is more serious than not. And so it's, shifting the mindset and the processes that I use to navigate. And I'm also very willing to do that because the alternative is not fun. Nope. Number 4, this one is not knowing what gifts I wanted for different occasions. And I'm really speaking to housewarming gifts, birthday gifts. When people ask me, I was literally fumbling, but not forward. It was definitely backwards or to the side. And I didn't have an answer. And the worst part was I didn't have an answer. And then I'd be like, oh, I'll get back to you. But then I would take days to get back to me, to them. And so it was just absolutely kind of ridiculous what I was doing. Like legit, I've had people follow up with me on them trying to get me a gift. In hindsight, it sounds so legit ridiculous. I was like, this cannot be my story. So your girl is working on that because I just think that's ridiculous. And if God has given me an opportunity to get blessed with gifts, I should be ready. So your girl's working on being ready with that. Number 5 is not buying a journal before I finish my current one. This has been a perpetual problem for me. This is not mistake 1. This has been years of mistakes. And it's something about, I always think that I'm going to buy another journal and I don't know. What's annoying about it is that I get in the flow, I get in the rhythm of writing my journal, I finish, and it could take anywhere from 2 days for me to get a new journal or 2 weeks. The problem with that is that in that time frame, I'm not journaling, I'm not processing, I'm not releasing thoughts and whatever craziness and good things are in my brain down to paper so I can make space for the thoughts and things I need to do. And so it's been a constant situation. So we're working on that. So if you are due for a journal or you're about to be due for a journal, the Fumble Forward merch, the journals will be a great buy for you to get that. I honestly need to, because as I'm saying this, I'm like, yep, your girl's getting there. Let's not repeat mistakes. We're trying to learn here fumbling forward, not sideways or backwards. But yeah, that's one that I got to work on it. Up next is number 6. Going back to the gym when I knew it wasn't for me. It was not for me. Now, I stopped going to the gym about 2 years ago when I realized it was just too much convincing and struggling to get to the gym. And that's when I changed over to kickboxing, fell in love, all those things. Well, I moved and I stopped doing kickboxing. And we moved to a place that had a gym really, really close by, super big, super known in the area, had all these different services and abilities. And I was like, okay. Just maybe, because I did like being able to go to the gym with my husband. No, y'all, no. Horrible, horrible decision. This gym was terrible. The membership person that signed me up, he just didn't care. He didn't care what I was saying. He was just trying to upsell me on things I didn't want, didn't ask for, and explicitly told him, I am only interested in the sauna, cryo, group classes. I was just very specific. He didn't care. And so that was just an annoying process. And then I just got charged crazy fees that I didn't know where they were coming from or why I was being charged them. And so I was just like, this is not for me. Services weren't always working, are super occupied all the time. And that mistake cost me $180 in just annoyance on a regular basis. And I had to stay at that gym for 3 months, which was very annoying because I even wanted to end earlier, but they said I had to give them a month's notice. So I just reaffirmed and learned the gym is a no-go for me. I am more of a sports and activities girly. And so it just made me think, man, how many of you are doing the wrong activity for you? And that's why it feels so hard to prioritize your fitness and overall health, because you're just doing things that are just not for you. Because if I was focused on doing the gym, I would be the most out of shape person ever, because the gym is not for me. Maybe every once in a while with a group, I'm doing something specific, but on my own, that's a no-go. So I learned that. And lastly, number 7, trying to do everything with my podcast all at once. I was over the moon to start Fumble Forward, this podcast. And I had learned through my research doing videos with podcasts were great, especially for sharing on YouTube, getting that visibility, and for all the people that are visual consumers. And I got that. It made sense. It just made it incredibly hard for me to do this podcast for you on a consistent basis and not be dragging my feet, because I had to coordinate and situate so many different things. Because I'm telling you, between coming up with podcast ideas, drafting the episodes, figuring out the tech, y'all heard episode 1, figuring out the tech and recording, it was just too much for your girl. And so I had to take a genuine step back and reflect on, you can't do that right now. You're not there, and own that fully. And so your girl doesn't. I focus now on giving you awesome audio only podcast episodes and doing that great work. However, I did get inspired by my cousin to just post the audios on YouTube as videos. So your girl did decide to do that. So the Fumble Forward YouTube channel is still up and just has all these episodes on audio. So if you're a YouTube person, that is your lane, you prefer that, you can check out episodes there, because I totally get that. Not everyone has these different platforms to listen to podcast episodes. So that's it, y'all. 7 mistakes of 2023, what I've learned, what I'm working on, how I am not perfect, imperfect in so many ways, imperfect. And just a reminder, I honestly don't strive to be perfect in the eyes of the world. And I am really focused on an audience of one. And somehow, some way, God continues to use me in my imperfectness to just serve and help you and do a little something over here in this world that is the podcast world. And also shifting gears a bit. How am I building community? This last few weeks of 2023, I'm building community by hosting my family for the holidays. So that's been my focus, prepping the itinerary, praying to get my mind, body, and spirit right for this time, and just genuinely looking forward to fellowshipping with loved ones. So that's what I'm doing, y'all. And again, I can just not re-emphasize how pumped I am about this new podcast merch. It's just so good. Just check it out on the show notes. I'll put the link there for yourself, for loved ones. The designs are all for you and helping you navigate this thing called life that's so crazy and perfect. And like always, tell a friend who's on that journey of finding ways to love themselves and all the mistakes they have made, because we're all fumbling forward over here and none of us are above the other, just all doing our best to figure this out in the lane that's truest to ourselves. And so, like always, subscribe, because y'all, the podcast, what you see now, it's only going to get better. And we're going to spice things up on the Fumble Forward podcast in the best way next year. And I'm really going to be focused on growing my engagement with you, offering new ways to connect. And if you have ideas on how you want to connect with me in this podcast, reach out to your girly, let me know. And that's going to be a real big focus for me, because it's all about building community here and what we're doing. And with that, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this fun ride with lots and lots of fumbles. This podcast journey has woken up a childlike fun spirit in me that I'm fully leaning into and embracing entirely. And I hope that your 2023 ends on an absolutely beautiful note. And I am already eager for what's in store in 2024 for Fumble Forward, because trust me when I say I just know it's going to be truly incredible.